This is Dr. Pratima back with you. Let us discuss the acceptance angle and numerical aperture of an optical fiber. In my previous lecture, we have discussed what is the history of optical fiber, how different ideas and different observations have evolved to the development of the optical fiber, leading to different applications till date. And we have also seen what is the main principle of optical fiber, and we have learned that the principle of the optical fiber is total internal reflection. And we have also seen the different factors which affect this total internal reflection, which are the refractive index, refraction, and the reflection of the light when it is incident into the circular aperture of the optical fiber. We have also seen the construction of the optical fiber, which consists of a core which is covered by a cladding, and how the refractive index of the core should be greater than the refractive index of the cladding. And we have also seen how the core and the cladding are covered for the protection from the environment in an optical fiber as well as in an optical fiber cable. In this lecture, we will be seeing the acceptance angle and the numerical aperture of an optical fiber. After knowing the definitions, we will also derive an expression for the acceptance angle and the numerical aperture of an optical fiber. Later, we will also see what are the different types of the optical fibers depending upon the different parameters. So as of now, if you have to know what is the acceptance angle of an optical fiber, it is a basic parameter which you have to know if you want to study how much light can an optical fiber really transmit from one end to the other end. You all know that an optical fiber is very thin in thickness. That is, the circular aperture of the optical fiber is of nanometer thickness, right? Because it is as thin as your hair. So now just imagine an optical fiber being illuminated with light. Then how much light do you think that can be transferred to the other end? Suppose if you are owning a torch taking an optical fiber, if this is the length of the optical fiber, this will be the aperture, right? So if I shine light here, suppose if I think that this hand I have a torch, and if I on the torch here, do you think that all the light which is coming from the torch can transmit through the optical fiber and receive the other end? No, it has only certain amount. It has a certain limit, and that limit depends upon the angle at which the light is incident to the core axis. So the acceptance angle of an optical fiber is defined based on the geometrical consideration of the optical fiber, that is the core. And it also, the geometrical consideration also means that we are considering here the geometry of the light which is being incident. Throughout this chapter, we will consider the optics in the form of rays. So you all know the ray optics, right? How rays are being propagated and what are the laws which these rays follow when they are being transmitted, in what form they go, and what are the different phenomena like reflection and refraction takes place following certain laws. So taking this ray optics into consideration and considering the geometry of the core and the cladding, where the core has more refractive index than the cladding, the acceptance angle is the maximum angle of a ray hitting the fiber. So here, if you consider this as a core axis, this is the ray which is hitting the fiber core. So this is the core if I have to elongate it outside. So this is hitting the core, and which allows the entire incident light to be guided by the core. So whatever the light you are giving, the angle should be such that the entire light whatever you are giving has to be guided along the core till the end. So that angle is known as the acceptance angle. Simply, if I have to speak, it is nothing but the maximum incidence angle of a light ray which can be used for injecting the light into a fiber core or a waveguide. So if I have to go further, see here in this figure you can see that in the center there is a core of refractive index N1 covered by a cladding of refractive index N2. And you can see the ray A which is hitting the core axis. And you can see that ray A is not being transmitted along the core but being escaped from the core into the cladding and outside. Why is it so? Because it's not into the acceptance angle. The angle which this A makes with the axis is not such that it can undergo total internal reflection. As we have seen in the previous lecture, not all rays which makes certain different angles with the core axis can undergo reflection, but many refract. I will again explain that in the coming slides. As of now, you can see the ray B. You can see the ray B here. This ray B is making certain angle with the core axis and is able to refract and then undergo total internal reflection and safely come out as an output. So this, I can call it as an acceptance angle. And if you take the same angle on the other side, then this solid cone which covers all these angles comes out as an acceptance cone. So the acceptance cone is the cone in which the light incident at the acceptance angle or even lesser like this. Okay, so all these rays less than the acceptance angle, and then the light can propagate through the optical fiber after this total internal reflection. So that is known as the acceptance cone. So here in this picture you can see the yellow color thing which is the acceptance cone and the blue color thing is the optical fiber. So this picture is given in this paper where scientists have been imaging the internal organs using endoscopy. So you might have understood the importance of knowing the acceptance angle and the acceptance cone. Whenever a doctor or any diagnostic person, if he is trying to diagnose an organ of a body, and if he want to prepare an optical fiber for it, then he will have to understand how much aperture of the optical fiber can be focused on that particular organ depending upon the shape of that organ and the size of that organ. Sometimes even there may have to be only a little amount of area should be focused for study so that the rest of the area can be protected from the damage when using high intensive laser. In such cases, this person who is trying to fabricate this optical fiber should understand how much that diameter of the core can collect the light safely and reach the other end. So that can be done by using the numerical aperture. Before going for the numerical aperture, let us try to derive an expression for the acceptance angle. In my previous lecture, we have seen this diagram, which is given for you on the slide. You are seeing light which is being transmitted in the denser medium, that is in the glass. Let us take that it is in the glass. So the light which is going or being incident along the axis of the fiber is going undeviated, but when it is being incident at an angle 20 degrees, it is being refracted, and as the angle of incidence is increasing, the angle of refraction goes on increasing. And at one particular angle, you can see that the angle of refraction has been 90 degrees, and beyond that angle, which is known as the critical angle, you can see that the light doesn't refract anymore but undergo reflection. So you are able to understand that beyond certain angle, if you incident along the axis of the core, then reflection can take place. That's what you have seen. So if you apply the same concept, where if I draw for you separately, this is the axis, and n1 is the refractive index of one media through which the light is being incident, and n2 is the refractive index at which the light is, or let me take like this, n1 and n2. Okay, so now at one particular angle, the angle of incidence alpha I, then what happened is, let me think that the angle is such that the angle of refraction is 90 degrees because the ray has gone grazing the interface. So now if n1 and n2 and or the refractive indices and alpha I is the incident angle, then what is this alpha I called as? If you recall from our previous lecture, this alpha I, which is the angle of incidence at which the angle of refraction is right angle, is known as the critical angle. Is known as the critical angle. So I can write this as theta C. Let me write this as theta C. And now I want to apply Snell's law. Let me apply Snell's law. So if I apply Snell's law, what will I get? N1, which is here the refractive index, into sine theta C is equal to N2, which is the refractive index of the next media where the angle has been refracted, into sine of 90 degrees. 90 degrees is theta 2. We know that Snell's law is n1 sine theta 1 is equal to n2 sine theta 2. Here theta 2 is 90 degrees. And what is sine 90? It is equal to 1. So n1 sine theta C is equal to n2 into 1. So from this, sine theta C is equal to n2 by n1. I will use this later for my derivation for the acceptance angle. Of course, theta C is equal to sine inverse of n2 by n1. So that also, let me write here, n2 by n1. So as of now, in order to go for the derivation of the acceptance angle, let me take longitudinal cross section of an optical fiber with a core of refractive index n1 and a cladding of refractive index n2, which is suspended into air of refractive index n0. And if this is the core axis, if this is the core axis, and let me consider a ray, an array OA being incident or being launched onto the core at the core axis. So it will be making some incident angle. Let me consider that is alpha I. So this zone, this complete zone at which the light is being launched into the cable or into the optical fiber is known as a launching zone. It's known as a launching zone, or this face is known as a launching edge. Okay, so now this ray, what will happen, as we know very well, it will refract. It will refract. It will refract, right? Let us consider that the angle of refraction is alpha r. Now, if you consider this point as B, the point where it has hit the core cladding interface. So this is the core and this is the cladding, right? So this will be the core cladding interface. And if I take a normal like this, then what will happen is this, let me consider that this ray is making an angle theta here. Okay, it's making an angle theta here, theta here. This theta is of great importance to me because this theta dictates whether the light really undergoes any escaping from the core into the cladding, or whether this ray which is hitting at B will reflect into the core so that it can safely undergo total internal reflection and come out. And we know very well that this is 90 degrees. So from the laws of the right angled triangle AB, if I name it as C, ABC, we know that alpha r, the angle of refraction, plus theta should be equal to 90 degrees. So from this, I can write alpha r is equal to 90 minus theta. So if I apply Snell's law at this particular point, applying Snell's law. What is Snell's law? N1 sine theta 1 is equal to N2 sine theta 2, where N1 and N2 are the refractive indices of the media at which N1 is the incident ray, the media at which the incident ray is existing, and N2 is the media at which the refracted ray exists here. So for us now, where is the incident ray? It is in air. The air's refractive index, we have taken it as N0. So if I apply Snell's law, N0 sine alpha I is equal to, what is the on the other side? The other side, the refractive index is N1 into sine of alpha r. And we know that alpha r is equal to 90 minus theta. Let me substitute that here. So N0 into sine alpha I is equal to N1 into sine of 90 minus theta. So what will I get? N0 into sine alpha I is equal to N1 into cos theta, right? N1 into cos theta. So now this theta, as I have told you, when will it be maximum? When it is maximum, what will happen? Okay, so this theta will play a very eminent role, as I have told you. For suppose, let me consider the same picture which you are seeing on this slide here. I want for you a clear understanding. I want to draw it separately. Let me consider at one particular angle theta. So now this theta is completely in this zone. Okay, in this zone. We are considering only in this zone. So this ray AB, if it is making some angle theta 1, let me consider, it has refracted. And now what is this area? This is the cladding. Okay, this is the cladding area. If I apply this diagram to this diagram to this, it's the cladding area. So it will refract at the cladding area, making some angle here, right? Making some angle, which is the refracted angle. So if I try to increase it further, like theta 2, then what will happen as we increase the angle of incidence from when the medium is a denser medium, what will happen is it will try to move towards the normal. So it will try to increase, the R will increase, and like this and like this and like this slowly as the angle of incidence is increasing. So now let me consider that at this particular theta 2, let me consider that this is grazed along the interface and this is 90 degrees. Then as I have told you, this is theta C. Now what will happen if I still increase the angle of incidence beyond theta C? So this is theta, which is greater than theta C. So what will happen is it will reflect back. So till here you have seen refraction, but now there is no refraction but only reflection. Okay, reflection. So now where did it reflect back? This is the cladding. whereas this is the core. So it has reflected back into the core. So what did you understand? For all angles greater than theta c, there is total internal reflection. So that means what? For all angles less than theta c, there is refraction. Refraction into what? The cladding. Do you want that? No. If the ray which you are incidenting has lost into the cladding, how do you expect that it will reach the other end? No, it cannot reach the other end. What is our expectation? To bring it safe to the other end, that is the output end. So for that, what should be the angle? The angle should be greater than theta c. So for theta c, you are able to see that the refraction is being lost, right? So the maximum angle up to which you can prevent the refraction is what? The critical angle. So the maximum angle is for the maximum angle of the incidence, you get the critical angle. For alpha max, you get theta c. So let me try to imply that here. Then what will happen? N naught sine alpha I is equal to, for alpha max, it is N1 into cos theta c. Now, if that's the case, I have sine theta c here. Okay, sine theta c is equal to N2 by N1, but I want cos theta c. How do I get it? Let me write here. I got sine theta c as N2 by N1. But now where did I end here? I got N0 into sine alpha max is equal to N1 into cos theta c. We know that sine square theta c plus cos square theta c is equal to 1. This is the common formula of trigonometry, which you know very well. So let us try to use this formula to get cos theta c from this sine theta c. So how do I get cos square theta c is equal to 1 minus sine square theta c. So cos theta c is equal to square root of 1 minus sine square theta c. So if I apply that here, taking the sine square theta c 1 minus n2 by n1 whole square, right? Because I am using this here. Okay, so what do I get here? Root of 1 minus n2 square by n1 square. So if I take the LCM, I get it as n1 square minus n2 square by n1 square. So this is cos theta c, right? So n0 into sine of alpha max is equal to n1 into square root of n1 square minus n2 square by n1 square. Now if I simplify this, I get n1 into square root of n1 square minus n2 square by n1, right? Because square root of n1 square comes out as n1 and n1 gets cancelled. So sine of alpha max, the maximum angle of incidence, is equal to square root of n1 square minus n2 square by n0. Normally, for any media of, if you are launching the cable into any media, you can use this formula where the acceptance angle, the maximum angle of incidence at which the cable can take all the light which is launched at its launching edge to the end is known as the acceptance angle, which is alpha max, is equal to sine inverse of square root of n1 square minus n2 square by n0, right? So for air media, suppose if I am launching this optical fiber in air, then for air media, n0, the refractive index of air is 1. So alpha max, which is the acceptance angle, which I'm writing it as A dot A, is equal to sine inverse of the root of the square of the refractive index of the core and the square of the refractive index of the cladding with the difference taken. So this is the final expression for the acceptance angle. So with this acceptance angle, you can move ahead to quantify how much is the quality of this particular optical fiber to carry the light, confining itself into the core, following the total internal reflection and safely reaching it out, safely bringing it out. So that is known as the numerical aperture. Numerical in the sense you are quantizing, right? So the definition is the measure of the ability. So if you are giving the numerical of the quantity of the optical fiber, you are discussing about its ability. So the measure of the ability of an optical fiber to collect all the incident ray which is being incident at the launching area inside it and safely reaching it out. So it is collection or confinement. So this is the point which you have to concentrate on. So collecting it and letting it undergo total internal reflection and bringing it out safely. How far can an optical fiber do? That is given by the numerical aperture. What is the angle of incidence? For this to happen, for the total internal reflection to safely happen, is known as the acceptance angle. And if you look here, if you can take the acceptance angle and the numerical aperture and look into them, they both are interrelated with one another, where the numerical aperture is the sine of the acceptance angle. Take the acceptance angle and go for the sine application, then you will get the numerical aperture. So as you know very well, it is related to the refractive indices of the core and the cladding, as we have seen in the previous slide. And we have to assume that in order to get at the derivation of the numerical aperture formula, let us consider that the light ray is coming from air or vacuum. So for that, where did we end here? We have got the acceptance angle as alpha m is equal to sine inverse of square root of n1 square minus n2 square for air medium, right? So now we know that a square minus b square can be written as a plus b into a minus b. So if I write in that way, if I apply that formula here, I can get it as n1 plus n2 into n1 minus n2. For my convenience, I want to use this logic where n1 will be almost equal to n2. Of course, the standard need for a good optical fiber is n1 should always be greater than n2, but the difference will not be much. Mostly if you see the started optical fiber or the first invented optical fiber, both are made with silica, but the cladding will be subjected to certain doping of very small quantity, so that N2 will not be much variation than N1. That means the difference will be almost nullified if you have to take it towards approximation. So I want to use this to make N1 plus N2 as N1 plus N1 if I go for the approximation, and it comes out as 2N1. So sine inverse of only for the summation. I want to take it only for the sum. You will understand why. So square root of 2N1 into N1 minus N2. So to further simplify this, I want to go for a fractional refractive index change, which is given by delta is equal to the ratio of the change in the refractive index of the core and the cladding to the refractive index of the core. So this is known as the fractional refractive index change. So from this, I can write N1 minus N2 is equal to delta N1. So if I substitute that here, what will I get is alpha m is equal to sine inverse of square root of 2n1 into delta n1. So I can write it as sine inverse of square root of 2 delta n1 square. So this can be written as sine inverse of n1 into 2 delta square root, right? But what is this is what acceptance angle, which is the incident angle, which is maximum. But what do I want now? I want the numerical aperture. So the numerical aperture is the sine of the acceptance angle. So what is the acceptance angle you got? Just substitute here. Sine of acceptance angle, which you have derived now, is sine inverse of n1 square root of 2 delta. So sine inverse of x, you get it as x, that is n1 into under root of 2 delta, where delta is n1 minus n2 by n1. So if you look here, the numerical aperture mostly depends on the refractive indices of the core and the cladding. Okay, so that's what it is dependent on. And this numerical aperture is having many parameters which will describe the quality of the fiber. For example, if you take silica fiber, as I have told you, the difference between the indices is not more than 0.3. Okay, so if suppose what will happen if the refractive indices are the difference in the refractive indices is more than 0.3, it will result in thermal stresses. That is, when there is a rise in temperature, it will undergo stress and fracture will happen. So that is with respect to silica. Suppose if you take a fiber which is made up of polymer, that materialistic property is different when compared to this glass property. In polymer, the materialistic property here, that is a mechanical property, is that it will have very small Young's modulus. So it will not be subjected to any fracture, but it can sustain to fracture. So the numerical aperture can be as large as even equal to or greater than 0.7. So more the numerical aperture, more the property of that particular media, the medium of propagation, that is the inherent physical property like mechanical properties and etc. Then you can dictate how much will be the efficiency of that optical fiber to carry the light safely to the other end. Hope you have understood this here properly. So that's what is written here. It is the capacity, optical power carrying capacity, and that is linearly proportional to the numerical aperture if you take the square of it. So the optical power capacity, the optical power carrying capacity of an optical fiber is proportional to the square of the numerical aperture. Mostly, if you are taking the bus in your local networks, which has to carry a lot of like bytes of information, bytes of data, which should give you information, then it needs large numerical aperture, right? So at times like this, you will have to consider the numerical aperture. Okay, so if you look more into the applications of the numerical aperture, it has two major applications I can bring to your concern. The first one is microscopes. Okay, microscopes are like, they come under the high spatial resolution optical imaging. Suppose if you make a sample, if you want to study the properties of that particular sample in the sense, when you go to your higher research, when you do a project, suppose you want to make a new material, okay, and you want to study the property of that particular material using laser or some infrared radiation or some particular radiation which can carry out the information of that particular sample. then if you will never desire to destroy that particular sample, but you want to focus on one particular area and save the remaining region from being destroyed. In that particular cases, you can use this numerical aperture so that the optical fields will be narrowly focused and focused only on that area which you desire for, so that the other area will be left safe. So that's the use which you find in the optical microscopy. And if you have to fabricate by using microfabrication or nanofabrication in optical methods, like you have to reduce the material to down to the nano or micro level thickness, then you have to concentrate the optical energy to produce that desired properties of the material within that desired dimensions, which is very tough. Okay, so you will have to focus on how much the light can be carried and whether you can reduce the light carrying capacity, that is the numerical aperture, depending upon what material you are desired at and what is the thickness you want to arrive at. So you have to control the optical field characteristic within the focal volume, and this plays a critical role in determining the function and the performance of this particular optical systems which are being used in the microfabrication and the nanofabrication. And this is a very carefully desired application, because you have to concentrate more on what are the properties of the desired material and the like thickness, and if you want to go for any designed fabrication, like you want to arrive at any nanorods or nanospheres, then you have to optimize the field properly. That is, you need to have a proper good control on optimization also. So this can be used by using high numerical aperture objective lenses by understanding the physics of the optical focusing. Going ahead, you need to understand the modes of the fiber. Okay, if you are launching some light at the launching zone or the launching edge, the light will undergo different patterns. As you know that light is an electromagnetic wave, throughout the waveguide it will undergo different patterns, and these patterns, as of now I want to just restrict to this particular point, but in my coming lectures where we study the graded index optical fiber, I will try to explain this more for you, what is a mode and how the electromagnetic wave will be having different patterns. At least the outline I'll try to give, though it is not needed for you. If you have to understand it, that will be very useful for you. Now, these modes of patterns for every light signal which is being passed through the wave guide, that is the optical fiber, plays a very eminent role, because this dictates the number of reflections which take place in the optical fiber, which is the main principle of an optical fiber, right? Total internal reflection. If the mode is of low order, then it will travel without any reflection straightly. And if it is of high order, then it will reflect a lot, and of course it will carry the information successfully ahead. So it is always believed that the single mode fibers carry lowest order mode and multi-mode fibers will carry high order modes. And for one particular step index multimode fiber, there is a formula which is approximately used. Okay, it's not like completely perfect number, but you can approximate how many modes can this step index fiber carry. What is a step index fiber, you will later understand. So this is the formula which gives you that, where D is the core diameter, this is the numerical aperture which we have seen till now, and this is the wavelength of the light which is being illuminated onto it. If you know all these things, then you can at least predict how many number of modes that particular optical fiber which is having this particular diameter and this particular numerical aperture, and when illuminated with this wavelength of light, what are the number of the modes. This is just an approximation for you. So now, if you want to see what are the different types of the optical fibers, they are classified based on three parameters. One is the refractive index profile. As I have told you, the total internal reflection depends on three characteristics, out of which refractive index plays a very eminent role. And here, the refractive index of the core plays a very eminent role. And depending upon the refractive index of the core, how it is spread, we can classify the optical fibers as step index optical fiber and graded index optical fiber. And depending upon the modes, as I have told you, the different patterns or the different ways in which the light which is being launched can transmit through the core and reach the other end, you can take it as single mode and multi-mode. In step index fibers, you will see step index single mode and step index multi-mode, and in graded index, you will see multi-mode. Depending on the materials with which the optical fiber is being fabricated with, you can see silica optical fibers and made up of plastics like polymers and all. And the very latest way of research is that they are trying to make silica optical fiber cladded with a plastic. And research is very good in this particular area, where they are trying to invent new materials with which this optical fiber can be made. Now, if the optical fibers are classified into single mode and multi-mode, if you have to understand what is a single mode fiber, a single mode fiber has small core. The core is like, if you see the longitudinal cross-sectional area, it will be like this. But if you see, that is like I'm showing like this. But if I see the cross-sectional area, it is like this, right? So if I see like that, the core will be very small. This is the core, and the cladding will be big compared to the core. So the diameter of the core will be around 9 microns. And this can be used to transmit infrared laser light, and it can support only one mode of propagation. Hence, you call it as a single mode fiber. Multi-mode fiber will be having large core area of diameter around 60 to 62 microns thickness, and it can support large number of modes, and it can be used to transmit infrared or laser light for different applications like LEDs. And we use the LEDs and we transmit the infrared light from the LEDs. So the refractive index profile is the thing which you have to understand the working of the single mode and the multi-mode fibers. So what is a refractive index profile? Refractive index profile is a plot. It's just like a graph, okay, where you take along the horizontal axis, or in the form of a graph, if I have to tell you, the x-axis, the refractive index along the horizontal axis, and along the vertical axis, you have to take the distance from the core. Suppose if I take like this, it's something like the refractive index and the distance from the core. Okay, so now I can take like this and see how the refractive index will vary with the distance from the center. Okay, so whether it will be straight or whether it will be increased or whether it will be decreased. So that gives you the refractive index profile on either side. And when coming to the cladding, what will happen? Whether it will decrease or whether it will increase in comparison with this core. And here in the cladding, will it remain the same? Will the refractive index remain the same, or whether here also it will decrease or whether it will increase? So this is known as the refractive index profile. This plays a very eminent role, and depending on the refractive index profile, again, as we have seen in the classification diagram, there are step index and graded index optical fiber. So here the refractive index is uniform throughout the core. So if I take a single mode fiber which has very narrow core. This is the center, and if I take the lines just for my idea, then if the refractive index is studied like this, when I move from the center towards the edge, the refractive index is uniform. Uniform in the sense there will not be any change. So from the center, it will be the same as I move. It will be the same. Okay, so when I move from here to here on the other side, it will be the same. So it is the same. It is uniform throughout the core. And when you take the cladding, edges, and when you see the refractive index, it will decrease. As we know, the refractive index of the core will be higher and the refractive index of the cladding will be lower when compared with one another. But it will be the same. In the cladding, there will not be any rise or decrease, but it will be the same. It will be the same. Okay, so I can say that this is like this, but I have to erase the core part, right? Because I'm only looking at the cladding part. So if I take all together the refractive index profile of the core and the cladding, what did I get like? I got like this. So this is the refractive index profile of a step index optical fiber. Why am I calling? If you look at the profile, it's something like step. Okay, the steps which you see on the staircase. Okay, so this is the refractive index profile. Okay, hence you call this type of fiber in which the core has a refractive index which is uniform throughout it from the center towards the edges, and in the cladding also it is the same, but there will be a step where the refractive index of the cladding is lower than that of the core and it should be uniform. Then you call it as a step index optical fiber. So based on it, you will again, based on the number of parts, you will again see it as single mode step index optical fiber and multi-mode step index optical fiber in my coming lectures. And what will happen to a graded index optical fiber when I consider the same diameter? Like, let me consider now, let me now consider a multi-mode graded index multi-mode fiber which is having greater core diameter. So from the center, if I see the refractive index of the core, what will happen is at the center it will be maximum, and when I move towards the edges, the refractive index will decrease. The same on the other side, because this is a cylindrical arrangement, right? So it will be the same. So what are you seeing here is it has graded. That means it has reduced. Hence you call it as a graded index optical fiber. And when you look at the cladding, definitely it is lesser, but it will remain the same. There will not be any change in the refractive index of the cladding either for step index or graded index optical fiber. So when you look at the total refractive index profile, it will be like this. So you see a dome-like structure because of the grading of the refractive index. Grading in the sense a decrease in the refractive index. Okay, from the center towards the edges. So that is what is given here, that the refractive index is maximum at the center and it is decreased towards the interface. In my next video lecture, we will be seeing how the refractive index profiles will play a very eminent role in the propagation of the light. Will really the step index fibers be eminent and safe to carry a lot of data, or will it be only carrying single data safely out following the total internal reflection? And what about graded index optical fiber? How are they better than the step index optical fiber? This will be my next video lecture. And I close this lecture with this quote to motivate you. He is an American mathematician who did a lot of research combining his mathematics with computer science and telecommunication. He says that science is concerned with what is possible while engineering is concerned with choosing from among the many possible ways, one that meets a number of often poorly stated economic and practical objectives. I've chosen this quote because we have seen how a basic idea of an optical fiber has evolved into different types, and that is the behind the engineering of the optical fiber. Hope I meet you in my next video lecture. Till then, stay motivated with this quote. Thank you.
Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.